And so there's a paradox here because physical existence means we exist both as human and divine. And so we have to acknowledge both aspects of our being if we're going to come into some sort of balance. Otherwise, we'll be imbalanced. So, what are the two paths? This is where our conversation about polarity comes in: service to self and service to others. This is actually a quote from the text. Polarity is the same as the existence of opposites. The opposite of love is fear. The opposite of service to others is service to self. So, what is the service to self path? By the way, both of these paths are completely perfect ways of knowing the creator and perfect ways of evolving as a soul. But the service to self path emphasizes individualism, separateness, personal gain, and self advancement. These souls are very focused on personal power and control. Their actions are selfish, often exploiting other beings. They don't really care or even see unity. They see themselves as separate and that others are tools in their game to be manipulated and controlled. Now, the consequence of this particular path is that you can create a lot of karma in the path, and that can manifest in future timelines. And of course, the whole understanding here is disconnection and separation. Who's an example of a soul? Ra speaks and gives an example of Genghis Khan as a soul of a service to self being. And it is quite interesting because in order for a soul to evolve as a service to self being, it must negatively polarize 95% or more. This is not true for a service to others being, which we'll talk about in a second. But this is a path of separation. I'm sure you can think of certain political leaders and people on this planet who are experiencing a path like this. And it's okay. It's a way of understanding or a way of evolving towards the creator again. Now, the service to others path is actually is much easier for a soul to choose because you actually only have to be 51% polarized positively in order to be considered a service to others soul. However, and this is actually why we're experiencing this harvest, this intensity, this moment of like, what the fuck is going on planet Earth? Because we have to choose at a soul level, am I evolving towards service to others or am I evolving towards service to self? Am I going to stay in the negativity and it's about me and usurping and power and control and rape and manipulate and all of this stuff? Do I want to keep evolving there? Or do I want to choose service to others? But we must choose because if we don't, we can't stay on planet Earth because she's evolving. So what is the service to others path? It's the one that's probably more familiar to you, where we're focused on compassion, community, connecting to others, helping. This is characterized by love and empathy, wanting to uplift others, wanting to make a difference, wanting to cooperate, supporting other people in their growth. Of course, you can have a positive karmic outcome here because you're helping and assisting other beings. The thing is, a lot of humans, especially if they're stuck in a lot of fear and this lower vibrational stuff, they may not even be vibrating enough to choose that this is the path I want my soul to go, which is fine. They'll just keep reincarnating on another third density planet. But these are the two paths, and they serve each other very well because you can't have light without dark, and you can't have good without bad. And if you think about the idea of a light worker and beings that are making a difference on the planet, well, why? Because there's chaos created by other beings. And actually, the darkness, the negativity, the service to self stuff that we see on planet Earth is actually serving our evolution. So every time a government wants to lock you down or wants to do something else to you or take away a freedom or take away a right, it's actually giving us more catalysts to recognize what we truly are and what path we actually choose to go down. This is why we're living through such an intense experience, because as a soul, not as a conscious mind, but as a soul, our opportunity right now is to choose where and how do I want to continue to evolve as a being of service to others or as a being of service to self. Now, interesting, the service to self path can exist through the fourth density, but eventually it cannot in the fifth. because a service to self being, the fifth density is all about love. So eventually it has to unify. Interestingly enough, I think this is interesting in the text. They spoke about Adolf Hitler, which most people would probably consider to be a service to self being, and he was. However, he didn't polarize enough in this life, meaning he wasn't bad enough, because this evolutionary path is quite difficult. The reason for that is because he thought he was doing what was right for humanity. So even though he was evil and created a lot of hell on planet Earth, he thought he was doing what was right. So he didn't actually polarize himself as a service to self being. And I think that's kind of interesting. As we integrate our polarity within ourselves, we can find and recognize the balance of other people and harmonize that for others. As a leader, consciously, if I know what's happening inside of me,